the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
If you're raising a child right now, maybe you're even thinking about it, you may have wrestled with that idea. What's best for your child, right? Is daycare good for the child? Or does daycare hurt your child? Right now in America, you're probably not alone in this decision. There was a stat I saw over the weekend. The U.S. Census Bureau said that there's over 12 million children under the age of 5 that are in some form of childcare each week. 12 million children, and millions of those are in daycare centers. And to me, that's just a staggering number, right? It tells you something about the reality of family life here in America. Dual incomes, economic pressure, culture makes it difficult for a parent, maybe even a mother, to stay home. Maybe you felt that way. Maybe you felt guilty for wanting to stay home. You felt like you had to go to work. You got your college degree. But let's talk about it. This is not about guilt, right? This is about truth. It's about love. It's about what your child needs. Are there benefits to daycare? I think there are. I can make a case for it. I think some children, especially in these high quality environments, maybe they excel. Maybe there's early socialization, or there's a structure that's good for them, or there's better cognitive stimulation than being home. So maybe there's some real good stuff in some of these daycares. There's a lot of research on this. Same research also found that more hours in non-maternal care were associated with increased behavioral problems, things like aggression, disobedience, and difficulty forming secure attachments. So I want to talk a little bit about this with you. And I thought, well, there's nobody better to talk about it than Dr. Meg Meeker. She's going to be joining me here today. I saw a piece by a child psychologist. Her name is Erica Commissar. And she says parents don't realize that nurseries are day orphanages and warehouses for their children. And Dr. Meeker actually knows her personally. She's a friend. Dr. Meeker, of course, is, they call her America's mom. She's a pediatrician, a mother, best-selling author. And you can follow her work online at Meg Meeker Parenting. I'm sorry, meekerparenting.com. Meekerparenting.com is her web address. Doctor, great to have you back. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Good afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me, Drew.
So Erica is a friend of yours.
Yes.
And of course, she's, what she says flies against the standard lines we hear. As a pediatrician, as somebody who's written a lot about parenting as well, give me your assessment of daycare. Is it neutral? For the large part, do the scales tip that it's not as good for a child as it is good for them? I mean, how do you see it?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, Erica, I think, is brilliant. And she's written a number of books, one called Being There, Prioritizing Motherhood in the First 3 Years of Life. Really what she talks about, and what I completely agree with her, and our philosophies align, is how important early childhood attachment is, and primarily attachment to mothers. And, she's gotten a lot of heat for this because she's saying things that a lot of people just don't want to hear. But she's absolutely right. And by the way, she is a working mother, so she really knows what she's talking about. So what is the deal with daycare? In general, my experience with daycare has been negative. But I know that, not my personal, but just from what I've seen with kids and mothers and fathers with kids in daycare. However, there are a lot of good daycares out there, and I think that it's really important for parents to really weigh the pros and cons of daycare, putting their kids in daycare before they do so. Daycares, first of all, pediatricians don't like them because kids who go to daycare are sick all the time because they're exposed to a lot of illness. A lot of parents have to bring their kids to daycare even when they're kind of sick because they have to get to work, and of course that circulates among the children. And so that's something you have to be prepared for. Daycares where there are a high number of kids per worker are not very good at all. I don't know what the limit is, but I know if you've got, say, one worker to 2 kids or one worker to 3 or 4, that's pretty good. You really don't want any higher than that, higher number of kids per daycare worker. So I understand why parents have to do it. Some parents have no choice. But it's a very individual decision. But in general, I feel strongly, like Erica does, that we need to really prioritize attachment for kids in those early years.
So I want to take a few calls. Erica in Los Angeles, we'll get to you and everyone else. If you want to join us, you can share your own experiences. Maybe you regret it. Maybe you say, hey, this was great for my kids. 888-914-9149. I'm curious as to what the latest research says about the long-term effects of daycare. There was I had my team this morning when we were talking about the issue. There's a guy named Brian Robertson. He's the author of a book called Daycare Deception, what the research is really telling us about daycare. And I was going to reach out to them, but you came to mind. We said, we got to get you on. I'm curious if you looked at any of this research, and are there long-term effects of daycare on children?
Yeah, there are, a couple of things. Again, it's the attachment. If kids are in a daycare where they don't get a lot of warm affection and they're not with their parents enough, there are some parents that are working 60 hours a week. They don't really see their kids. They're going to have a hard time with attachment. There are some daycares where the kids aren't nurtured. There actually can be some neglect and abuse. I've seen that in daycares. And of course, they will have long-term effects on a child if they don't learn to bond, and if they feel neglected, if they feel isolated, and if they have been abused. On the other hand, if kids are in a daycare that's small and they have a loving provider to two of them, and they're well cared for, and the parents, this is the key, I believe, is that the parents spend more time with their kids during the week than a daycare provider spends with them. So really, it also depends on the amount of time your child's in daycare.
That was the Best of the Week on Relevant Radio. The best way to listen to the Best of the Week is on the Relevant Radio app, free and always free. Download and share the #1 free Catholic app today in the App Store.